the depths of a tropical island, surrounded by the Indian Ocean, a ruler rose whose cruelty made even the most feared tyrants of history seem merciful. Her name echoes through the centuries as a whisper of terror on the winds that sweep across Madagascar. Ranavalona, the queen who turned her paradise into hell and cut her nation's population in half during her reign. In 1828, a dark ceremony unfolded at the royal palace of Antananarivo. A 46-year-old woman, her eyes radiating unyielding determination, knelt as the blood of a freshly sacrificed bull poured over her skin. Priests chanted ancestral hymns, sealing with blood the start of a reign remembered as the years of darkness. Ramavo, now known as Ranavalona I, had just ascended the throne of Madagascar. Following the suspicious death of her husband, King Radamo I, her path to the crown wasn't predestined, but built with deadly cunning. Born around 1788 as a commoner named Ramavo, her life changed when her father exposed an assassination plot against King Andrea Nampoina Marina. As a reward, the king adopted her and arranged her marriage to his son Radama. But the marriage was loveless. Radama kept 12 wives, and Ramava was never his favorite. Worse, he had executed several of her close relatives, planting seeds of deep resentment that would one day bloom into bloody vengeance. Progressive for his time. He expanded the Marina Kingdom, unified much of Madagascar, and opened the country to Western influence, allowing Christian missionaries, forging ties with Britain, and promoting education. But this openness angered traditionalists at court, including Ramavo, who secretly built alliances with religious and military leaders. When Radama died, the rightful heir was his nephew Rakatobi. Ramavo acted swiftly and brutally. Before the king's death was publicly known, she mobilized soldiers from her hometown, seized the palace, and declared herself queen. Those supporting the traditional line of succession had a choice: accept Ranavalona or die. In mere hours, she crushed all opposition. Rakatobi and his parents were eliminated. Few royals survived the wave of executions. Citizens trembled as nobles scrambled to adapt to a new reality. A woman of peasant origin now sat on the throne, defying sacred traditions. If her rise was bloody, what followed would turn Madagascar into a slaughterhouse. Ranavalona despised foreigners and their ideas. To her, sovereignty meant isolation and the preservation of ancestral customs, regardless of the human cost. In 1835, after surviving a mysterious illness, she credited her recovery to the power of the Sampi, Madagascar's 12 sacred talismans. This convinced her to eliminate all foreign influence. She issued a decree banning Christianity under penalty of death. What followed was a persecution of biblical scale. Christians were hunted across the land. Those who refused to renounce their faith faced horrific torture. Some were thrown off cliffs, their bodies shattering on the rocks. Others were boiled alive. Some were crucified, a cruel irony not lost on the victims. In 1836, 14 Christians were executed in a single day. Missionaries faced a grim choice: flee and abandon their converts, or stay and face martyrdom. Many fled, which Ranavalona mocked. See how your leaders abandon you, their foreign gods have no power here. One of her most feared punishments was the Tangina ordeal. Suspects were forced to drink poison from the Tangina nut, along with 3 pieces of chicken skin. If they vomited all 3 pieces, they were innocent. If not, they died in agony. Between 5,000 and 10,000 people died this way every year. Even corpses were subjected to Tangina. The dead couldn't vomit, so their guilt was proven, letting the crown seize their asset. Though Tangina was part of Malagasy tradition, under Ranavalona, it became mass terror. Its preparation was ritualistic. Panoandri priests chanted while grinding the toxic nuts. Victims were starved for 24 hours beforehand. One famous victim was Andriana Mijaha, a high-ranking officer and Ranavalona's former lover, possibly the father of her child. When linked romantically to another woman, she demanded he take the tangina. He refused, choosing a quick death instead. Calmly, he instructed the executioner where to thrust the spear in his neck. Ranavalona's cruelty wasn't limited to her people. When France tried to invade in 1849, her troops not only repelled them, They captured 21 European soldiers and beheaded them. Their heads were mounted on stakes along the coast as a bloody warning. This event fueled her belief in her divine power and increased her megalomania. As her reign continued, she became more erratic. The Fampihavanana, forced labor in place of taxes, expanded. Peasants were drafted as soldiers, porters, or laborers on endless projects. Many starved far from home. Some carried the queen on stretchers for miles, only to be left to die when no longer needed. Whole villages were conscripted with little notice. Those who refused saw their homes burned, with their families inside. Workers didn't know if they'd be gone for days or years. No pay, no food, no shelter. Pregnant women labored until giving birth, often unattended. Deaths were so common that corpses lined the roads. One infamous project was her summer palace in the mountains. Over 50,000 workers hauled massive stones for kilometers without tools. Around 10,000 died over 2 years. When told of the death toll, Ranavalona allegedly replied, "Stone and lime are mixed better with blood. The palace will last longer." She visited it only 3 times before deciding the weather was unpleasant. Her army of 20,000 to 30,000 Marina soldiers regularly crushed rebellious provinces. Villages were destroyed. Survivors were enslaved. Atrocities were rampant. Children beheaded in front of parents. Pregnant women disemboweled so soldiers could bet on the baby's sex. Men burned alive in their homes. Her paranoia worsened with age. She ordered executions over the smallest suspicions. A bad dream could mean death for dozens. Tripping in her presence or even a long stare was fatal. She believed cloud shapes were spells cast against her. Subjects had to watch the skies and report anything strange. Dozens were executed for collaborating with cloud sorcerers. She banned the color purple. People burned purple clothes, feathers, even flowers. Despite rejecting Western politics and religion, Ranavalona was fascinated by European culture, especially French. She kept a broken piano and forced courtiers to wear French clothes. She became obsessed with soap, learned its recipe from missionaries, and, while banning Christianity, kept public baths. She retained a handful of Europeans, mostly artisans, at her court. The most notable was Jean Laborde, a French engineer shipwrecked in 1832. Instead of executing him, she made him industrial advisor. Under him, factories for weapons, textiles, and ammo were built. Her reign wrecked Madagascar's economy by cutting off trade with Europe. She turned to the slave trade. War captives were sold abroad. When that wasn't enough, even Marina villages, her own people, were enslaved. Families were torn apart, men sent to plantations, women and children sold to the Middle East. Conditions were so brutal that many died of suffocation before arrival. Her son, Prince Rakoto, later Radama II, was shaped by French influence. Unlike his mother, he opposed the cruelty and was loved by the people. He often intervened to save the condemned or block Tanjana rituals. This enraged his mother, who saw him as weak. She forced him to witness executions to toughen him up. If he looked away, she mocked him publicly. In the 1850, Cesse Joseph Francois Lambert, a French businessman, came to Madagascar. He helped suppress a local revolt and earned a meeting with the Queen. There, he met Jean Laborde and shared knowledge about arms, agriculture, and construction. Lambert bonded with Prince Rakoto. Together, they drafted the Lambert Charter in 1855, granting Lambert resource rights in exchange for help toppling Ranavalona. France later used this as a pretext for colonization. Lambert returned to Europe to seek support. He failed, but returned in 1857 to attempt the coup anyway. The plot was discovered. The Queen ordered all non-Malagasy expelled or executed. Lambert and a few escaped to Mauritius. The plot's failure triggered renewed bloodshed. Ranavalona believed her suspicions about Christians and foreigners were confirmed. Persecutions resumed with savage intensity. Bounties were paid for denouncing Christians. Executions became even more sadistic. She did not, however, kill her son, perhaps her only act of mercy. Instead, she kept him prisoner in the palace, constantly watched. Maybe maternal instinct held her back, Or perhaps she feared killing her only heir. In her final years, her cruelty peaked. Servants were executed for trivial mistakes. A dropped tray meant being thrown off a cliff. An unpopular lady-in-waiting might be buried alive. She reportedly enjoyed banquets during executions, commenting on victims' endurance. She invented death races. Condemned prisoners ran across fields while soldiers chased them with spears. If they reached the line, they lived. Few ever did. Courtiers lived in constant fear. Some slept with dirt pouches to swallow and die quickly if summoned. Others hid poison in rings. She developed a morbid obsession with death. Once, she ordered a rhinoceros hunt, even though none lived in Madagascar. When told, she had the messengers executed and sent hunters anyway. Hundreds died searching for an imaginary beast. Her madness reached new heights when she ordered corpses exhumed and forced to work. Soldiers tied decomposing bodies to posts to simulate labor. The stench poisoned entire villages. In August 1861, Ranavalona I finally died, to the relief of her people and the world. She was 73. Her death brought eerie silence to Antananarivo. People cautiously emerged, unsure if it was safe to rejoice. As word spread, a quiet celebration filled the streets. They say she refused last rites, screaming that the demons were coming for her. Her final words, "They come with chains of fire, 1,000 souls scream my name." She let out an inhuman scream and died, her face frozen in terror. Her funeral was elaborate, not out of respect but fear. Priests performed rites to keep her spirit from returning. She was buried with amulets, not to protect her body, but to trap her soul. Adama II, her son, reversed her policies. He reopened the country, allowed religious freedom, abolished Tangina, and sought diplomatic ties. But his liberal reforms angered conservatives. Just 18 months later, he was strangled in a coup. His mother's culture of brutality had taken root too deeply. Ranavalona's legacy is contradictory. Her cruelty kept Madagascar free from colonial rule, briefly. Some see her isolationism as early nationalism, but the human toll was unimaginable. In 33 years, she cut the population in half. She shattered the economy and left a nation scarred. Villages vanished. Bloodlines ended. Traditions were twisted to serve her megalomania. The long-term damage was severe. Suspicion of foreigners and fear of change slowed modernization. The weakened economy left Madagascar vulnerable to French colonization in 1896, the very fate she fought so hard to avoid. Even now, in Madagascar, her name is whispered with dread. Mothers frighten children with tales of the Bloody Queen. Offerings are left, not in honor, but to calm her spirit. Like many tyrants, Ranavalona sought immortality through fear, and in a way she achieved it. 2 centuries later, her name still chills the spine. Unlike conquerors remembered for glory, she's remembered for systematically destroying her people and culture. The horror of her legacy lies not just in those she killed, but in the millions never born because of her. Entire generations erased. In the pantheon of history's most brutal rulers, Ranavalona stands alone. A queen whose cruelty was so precise, so complete, and so relentless, it defies comprehension. She didn't just turn paradise into hell, she built a new hell, a monument to depravity that still haunts the human imagination. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss a single episode. Every week I bring you new stories, heartfelt, gripping, and sometimes deeply haunting. Let each video take you on a journey you'll never forget.